Welcome, dear friends. Today, let's take a moment to reflect on something that shapes our entire journey: friendship. Think about it. The people we walk with influence our thoughts, mold our hearts, and even determine the heights we reach. A true friend is not just someone we laugh with. They are the ones who stand beside us when laughter fades, when the weight of the world feels unbearable. But how do we recognize such friends? How do we separate those who uplift us from those who quietly drain our spirit? More than 2,500 years ago, the Buddha spoke of 4 kinds of friends, not 10, not 50, just 4. And within these 4 lies a wisdom so deep, so transformative, that it can change the way we choose our companions. So let's journey into this ancient teaching and uncover the essence of true friendship. 1. The helper, upakaraka. A true helper is like a tree heavy with fruit, offering shade, nourishment, and shelter without expecting anything in return. In moments of crisis, they do not disappear into the crowd. They step forward. They give, not out of obligation, but from a place of genuine care. Imagine this: the villager and the fallen king. A king ran for his life, his royal robes torn, his crown stolen. His trusted allies had betrayed him, selling him out for gold. Now wounded and alone, he collapsed against a tree. Darkness swallowed the land. He could hear the distant shouts of his enemies closing in. Then, a rustle. Footsteps. The king reached for his dagger, but before he could move, a calloused hand touched his shoulder. A villager stood before him, his clothes simple, his face weathered by the sun. "You are hurt," the villager said. "Leave me," the king gasped. "They will kill you for helping me." The villager said nothing. He simply knelt, lifted the king onto his back, and began walking, through the cold, through the rain, for miles. When the king burned with fever, the villager cooled his brow with damp leaves. When hunger gnawed at them, the villager gave him the last of his food, eating nothing himself. Days passed. The king, now stronger, turned to his savior. "Why?" he asked. "You don't know me. Why risk your life for a stranger?" The villager smiled. "Because today you are in need. And that is reason enough." Years later, when the king reclaimed his throne, he sent his men to search for the villager, not to repay him, not to shower him with gold, but to kneel before him and say, "A kingdom can be rebuilt, but kindness like yours is rarer than gold." A true friend does not count the cost of kindness. They simply give. 2. The enduring friend, suhadaya. Some friendships are like seasons, beautiful but fleeting. And then there are the rare ones. The friendships that endure, unshakable, constant. An enduring friend does not flinch when you reveal your scars. They do not judge your mistakes. They do not stand by only for your triumphs. They sit with you in your failures without needing to say a word. A story of endurance. Long ago, a young man named Jyotika had everything: wealth, power, servants. But one day, disaster struck. His riches were stolen. His home burned. His so-called friends vanished overnight. All except one, a simple monk. The monk sat with him in the ashes of his old life and said, "You have lost much, but your heart remains. That is enough to rebuild." Years later, Jyotika became a great teacher, not because he regained wealth, but because he had a friend who saw his worth even when everything else was gone. Ask yourself, who listens to your pain without rushing to fix it? Who stays even when your truth is raw and imperfect? That is your suhadaya, the friend who endures. 3. The mentor, atakai. The world is full of voices that tell us what we want to hear, but a true mentor, they tell us what we need to hear. They are the mirror that does not lie, revealing not just our strengths, but our blind spots. A mentor does not flatter. They guide. They do not shield us from discomfort. They challenge us to grow. The story of the honest friend. A young prince had a wise friend. Every time the prince made a mistake, his friend would say, "If you walk this path, you will fall." But the prince, proud and stubborn, ignored him. One day he found himself in a deadly trap set by his enemies. As the sword hovered above him, he whispered, "I should have listened." A mentor is not always comfortable to have, but their words, though sharp, are given with love. If you have someone who dares to tell you the truth, even when it stings, cherish. And that is your Atakai, the wise guide for the compassionate friend, Anukamp. A compassionate friend is like a river, flowing, giving, cleansing. They do not hold grudges. They do not keep score. They do not need to see your wounds. To understand them, their presence alone is healing, a story of compassion. Once, a man carrying deep sorrow met a stranger. They sat together in silence. The stranger never asked about his pain, never forced him to speak. Yet, by the time they parted, the man's burden felt lighter. "Why? Do I feel relief?" he asked. The stranger smiled. "Because I did not try to take your pain, I simply shared it." A compassionate friend does not try to change you. They accept you completely. That is your Anukampo, the friend whose heart beats with yours. Choosing real friends. The Buddha advised, surround yourself with those who bring wisdom, patience, and kindness into your life. Not those who make you comfortable, but those who make you better. True friends do not boast of their loyalty. They prove it through quiet presence. Do not feed your ego. They help you dissolve it. Do not walk ahead of you or behind you. They walk with you. Observe actions, not words. A real friend does not need to say, "I am here for you." You will simply feel it in their presence. A final reflection. The Buddha and Anandananda, the devoted disciple of the Buddha, once asked, "Master, is it true that good friendship is half of the holy life?" The Buddha smiled. "No, Ananda, it is the whole of the holy life." Why? Because a true friend is not just someone who walks with you on the path. They become the path. A blessing for you. Real friendship is not about perfection. It is about presence. It is about choosing kindness over judgment, truth over comfort, and love over convenience. As Ajahn Brahm beautifully said, a true friend is one who knows the song of your heart and sings it back to you when you have forgotten the words. May you find such friends. May you be such a friend. And may your journey be filled with love, wisdom, and companionship. Thank you for listening.